Hello.
Hello.
Can is the sound distorted? Because I've just plugged my tiny little external speaker in.
No,
No,
you're
you're
good.
fine.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. I just want to be sure it didn't sound like a Dalek or something horrible. Um, okay. I've been working on in a very kind of desultory way of a series of short stories about my hometown Newport. So this is some of one of them. The main character is Pancho, who is a guy who sells knocked off goods in the pub. That's his job. I observed a guy like this in a Newport bar some years ago, and he absolutely fascinated me. Um, and it's set a few years ago when the Ryder Cup golf tournament was set in Newport in South Wales, and you couldn't have come up with a bigger mismatch. It'd be like setting a Royal Garden party in Worksop or something. And no one's interested in Newport in golf in Newport. And it was once described um, as a dour proletarian place with absolutely no obvious attractions by a, a holiday guide. So thanks, guys. 40 minutes later, Pancho was turning right off Upper Dock Street, cutting through Friars Lane into John Frost Square. It was still hammering down. The square was empty apart from one bloke watching the big screen they put up in front of Iceland to show the golf. The idea was that the locals who couldn't afford tickets would congregate here, filling the square with their flags and giant leeks. They create the same kind of colourful spectacle you saw when they showed football internationals on giant screens in Amsterdam, Berlin, or Rome. There were two flaws in this thinking. No one gave a shit about the golf in Newport, and rain had stopped play after 2 hours on this the first day. What genius thought it would be a good idea to hold a golf tournament in Wales in October? The square flooded when the drains couldn't cope with the downpour, and a tent set up by sports and leisure staff caved in and had to be carted away. Pancho slalomed between huge pools of water as he headed for the tunnel in the far corner. On the screen, a golfer was poised over a golf ball on a clear, sunny morning. He gave it a whack, and the camera followed it on its gentle arc through the sky. There was a round of applause, and the golfer, it wasn't Tiger Woods, so Pancho was stumped, smiled and held up his club to the crowd, looking well pleased with himself. He set off after the ball, but didn't exactly put himself out, strolling along as if he was off down the shop to get a paper on Sunday morning. The lone spectator stood with his arms folded. He wore a denim jacket and a Tesco's carrier bag in his head. 4 empty cans of lager were lined up in a neat row on the ground in front of him. Frankly, it depressed Pancho, that kind of desperate behavior, so he put his head down and began to walk on, focusing instead on the pools of yellow, sickly light falling on the gleaming red tiles. Hey, Pancho! He came to a halt. The spectator was beckoning him over. The voice was familiar, but Pancho hesitated, unable to recognize him in the gloom and driving rain. It's me, Terry! Terry Fisher! It took a couple of seconds to click. Terry Fisher, a regular customer at Pancho's, drank in the Man of Gwent. Pancho gave him a wave, hurried on. Terry called after him. Finished for the night, have you? There was a pleading look in his face. Terry was obviously desperate for some company. God knows how long he'd been standing there in the rain on his own. Pancho had promised Tina he wouldn't be late again, and up until this moment had every intention of keeping that promise. But there was something so pathetic about Terry that he knew he wouldn't be able to live with himself if he walked away. 2 minutes. He'd chat to Terry for 2 minutes and then he'd go. Decision made, Pancho joined him in front of the big screen. I don't know, you like golf? Thought I'd take an interest would have been held in the port like. They looked up at the screen where the bloke who wasn't Tiger Woods was jauntily swinging his club and whistling, while some poor lackey followed behind, head down, lugging all the heavy gear. This is a repeat, Terry told him. Yeah, I guess, yeah. It's my access night, but Ryan's got the flu. I was planning to bring him here as a treat. I thought it'd be exciting for him, watching it outdoors in the middle of a big crowd. Like going to see the football at the county. I made his favourite sandwiches, cheese, strawberry jam, and hula hoops. and I bought a bag of chocolate chip cookies and a big bottle of Pepsi, plus some lager for myself. We're going to have a proper lads' night out. Gutted he was. Anyhow, I thought I'd come anyway and tell him about it. Terry gasped, then unleashed an enormous belch. Excuse me, I'm a bit windy. I ended up eating the sandwiches myself. It seemed a shame to waste them. And I got the cookies. I didn't fancy carrying that big bottle of Pepsi all the way home, so I ended up drinking it. That's why I'm so gassy, see? And then there's the lager, said Pancho. Terry looked embarrassed. Well, it's not much of an atmosphere. I needed cheering up. You been here long? Terry shifted awkwardly. Since about 5. That's over 3 hours, amigo. Pancho shivered as an icy raindrop slithered down his neck. To the right, a banner drooped from a lamppost. Enjoy the golf. Enjoy our city. We do. Welcome to Newport. I thought I'd kick myself if I go back home now when they started playing again. Pancho looked into Terry's big, mournful eyes. God, he was one deeply sad hombre. How come Ryan's so interested in golf all of a sudden? Didn't I get him a Man United top for the summer? He remembered Ryan as a chubby, irritating presence at Terry's side, endlessly fidgeting, putting his sticky fingers all over the crisp new merchandise and saying, "Dad, can I have one?" in a whiny voice. Well, I've been getting all these Ryder Cup themed lessons in school, see? How's that work then? Terry brightened. They've been counting how many shots it takes to hit a golf ball into a target in maths, and created golf courses on computers in IT, and Ryan, he designed a ticket for the tournament in art. Pancho had never considered himself a traditionalist when it came to education, but he's finding this pretty difficult to stomach. It sounded like brainwashing to him. In English, right, he wrote a poem. Ryan actually wrote a poem. Don't tell me. Was it about golf? Yeah, hitting a hole in one. Ryan has problems concentrating usually, and he gets into fights when the other kids tease him, but he's really taken to this. Last week, they had a lesson on what qualities you needed to be a good caddy. Pancho looked at him. The bloke who holds the big bag around. Yeah, that's what he's decided he wants to be, a caddy. Pancho pointed to the screen in front of him where the golfer was on his haunches, sizing up a shot. What about that hombre? Huh? The big shot. The one who earns all the dosh. Doesn't Ryan want to be like him? Terry looked a bit defensive. There's more to it than you think, being a caddy. Pancho had felt sorry for the bloke, but now he was getting angry. Aren't any Welsh golfers? Terry thought for a minute. Ian Wosnam, or Wusman, or Wushman. So why didn't they have a lesson about what qualities you need to become the next Ian Wushman or Washman or whatever he's bloody called? Terry looked doubtful. Well, it's a rich man's game, innit? That's it. Thank you.